Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFLW Fantasy Fanatics round review. We're recording live on Sunday, the 22nd of September, post round 4, the first double game week of the AFLW Fantasy season. I'm your host, Bails, and you can find me at Bails DT across the socials. And if you are tuning in live and you have any questions you'd like answered or players you'd like to discuss, put it in the live chat, and we'll get to as many of those sort of later on in the show when we get a bit of time. But join me, as always, is my fellow co-host and AFLW Fantasy Fanatic, is Jaiden Poposky. Jaiden, mate, how are you? How was the long weekend, I should say? The few days stretched over the round.
Yeah, hey, Bales. I was going to say that. Just quite a long week. I guess it's something to get used to, but yeah, pretty interesting. It was good to have like footy on every day, but it made it quite long. And there's not a lot of there weren't a lot of things we could do with our teams, I guess, after those first couple of games. So yeah, it made it fairly long, but overall pretty happy.
Yeah. Very frustrating week, well, for myself. But hey, the men's finals were actually quite good. There was good couple of finals there, and as a non-Victorian, it's pretty good having two non-Victorian teams in their first time since 2006, when there was the three back-to-back from 04 to 06. So looking forward to it. I think those two teams are the two teams that have been the most in form. So probably barring Hawthorn to an extent there, but looking forward to that next Saturday. But mate, how did you go in round 4? Let us know what your score was. You can't obviously say round rank because lockouts lifted, but your overall rank.
I scored 1690 this week, so I think that was pretty good. Overall rank went from 2200 after disaster last week up to 910. So yeah, not bad. I think the round rank was about 700 based on, I did well enough that I could scroll down to where I finished, and there's about 700 rows. So I think around that, pretty happy with that overall.
Yeah, mate. No, sounds like a good weekend, mate. I don't know if you said it. How many doubles did you have this week?
I think 6 in the end. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 6. But Hosking didn't play the second game, so technically only 5. But yeah, 6. It's 6 on paper.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Yeah, I had the 8. With 2 of them not playing their second game. But so I scored the 1665. So that puts me up 59 spots, which I'm a bit disappointed with. I know I went up in rank. I'm 350 overall, which was pretty good. But the fact that I had a couple of players not play the second game, Hosking's now up 3 to 4 weeks as well. And it's quite funny as well. It hadn't been reported by Richmond at all. By West Coast, and then Sarah Hosking on the coverage today just casually goes, "Oh yeah, my twin sister Jess is out 3 to 4 weeks with a quad injury," and I'm just like, "Whoa, I haven't heard that anywhere." So that sort of was just like a gut punch right there, just knowing that I've now got another forced trade with the Bree Davey one as well. So it's just absolute bit of carnage, and I'm not going to have all 3 of Conti, Riddell, and Garner. So unless the one I don't get or the 2 I don't get don't go massive, I could be in a bit of trouble this week. So I'm intrigued to see how that goes as well. And just one bit of news as well, just while we're recording, I did actually just see this, and Corey Blattridge actually just put the question in there. Gary O'Sullivan has been offered a week suspension for striking Sinead Goldtree in the game yesterday, which I didn't watch that game, watch the other one, but I was thinking about Gary O'Sullivan as an option this week. Now, that's
so it's actually confirmed a week, or
yeah,
we're not sure yet. But
yeah, no, it's been confirmed a week.
Wow.
Yeah, the
that's
official match review came through. So which is very interesting. I'm actually just putting it in our group chat as we're sort of recording. So it's very interesting. But yeah, we'll be touching a little bit on that later on. But Jaiden, mate, plus and minus 3. Who are you giving that to this week?
I'll give the plus 3. I'll go for Ash Riddell on debut. Brought her in, played pretty well, pretty happy with that. And to get within 9 points of Marinoff for 300 and over 300k. That's pretty good. I think so. Helped me get another premium. So it was good to get some reward on a trade-in. Feels like the first time in a long time that I've had that. So probably the first time this year. So yeah,
Beautiful.
good to get a big score.
Yep.
And the negative 3, I think probably. I'll give it to Huntington. I think again, it's just like the disaster of progression from Gabby O'Sullivan. To Sheriff to Huntington. She's on -3 at quarter time, so I guess she kind of saved it a little bit, but 31, a bit disappointing. I haven't looked to see if she'll make any money, but I think maybe. Let me see. Yeah, she'll make 4K. So
4K more than you had last week.
Yeah, not a great trade. I don't know what I'll do going forward, but yeah, she can have the -3.
Yeah, no, very frustrating. I'm actually going to give my +3 to 2 players. I was thinking about just going one, but I find it hard to split these two. So first one being Sinead Goldrick. She's been one of the best picks of the year so far through 4 weeks. She obviously went back-to-back 70s to start the season. And the first game was from very low time on ground after she had that sort of fitness test, I think, before the game against Geelong. Then 74 against the Lions. She got a 53 last week against North Melbourne, which we've seen North Melbourne a hard 10 to score against. And then this week against Frere with a 104, playing 95% time on ground. So it doesn't matter what role she's playing at the moment. She's scoring. Like, she's playing up half back. She's played up 4. She's playing in the midfield. Like, it just doesn't matter. Like, she just somehow finds a way to score well. So Sinead Goldrick, she's a top 5 defender. Definitely the way she's going at the moment with 3 scores over 70. I don't think too many defenders would be able to say that. And her price is well over 800. It'll probably be, I'd say, near 900 this week, if not above. And then the other one I'm actually going to give it to is a rookie, Ruby Tripodi, or as a few people were saying in our group chat, Rudy Trigotti, because she's just been fantastic this year. Like, got better every game. 44 round 1, then a 68, then a 66, so 2 points less, but then 100 this week. Obviously, great match against Port, but it was the tackling that was impressive with 13 tackles. I know that North Melbourne set a record for the most tackles in a game, whatever, but it just, Ruby Tripodi starting at, 300 and something K. What would she start at? She was at, what was it, like 380 or 390 or something, I think, Jaden. I don't know if you've got a starting price there. I'm just trying to sort of work it out off the top of my head. Looking at this.
380.
Yeah, starting at 380K as a forward as well, playing full-time midfield, sort of on the bench, and then come straight on for a Dell or a Mia King or someone like that, and then she plays 60% game time. Her points per minute's crazy. She's going to be potentially a premium midfield that we're looking at in like 4, 5, 6 years' time when she gets a bit more game time, a bit more responsibility. But she's been fantastic. So I've got to give it to both. And the -3, oh, geez, it could go to a few players here. Like, having bloody 2 injuries is not great. I can't give an injured player a -3. I've got to give it to Mikala Paunger, right? So 4 points from 67% time on ground over 4 quarters is it's just very, very bad. Scoring single digits is bad enough, but the fact that she also gave away a couple of free kicks, I didn't watch this game. I watched the other game on at the same time, so I can't really say, but there's probably no CBAs there. There's no good role. I thought with a few injuries, maybe there's more responsibility, but it got worse. Like, with players like Nicola Barr and that out, it got worse. And she's a big problem because even if she's got double game week, I'm not taking 8 points from 2 games. So not great. And she is gonna. I don't even know if I'll be able to fix her because I've got 2 injuries, but we'll see how we go. But in terms of the Content Creators Cup from this week, we can't do the top 100 because it has not lifted, so I don't know how many people are there, but we've got a fair few. But the Content Creators Cup, I got the job done over Mitch, 1665 to 1616. JS went down to Eloise, 1645 to 1660. I know JS had the Davey issue, whereas Eloise did not, so that was a big changer in that matchup. Mel got the job done, 1369, just over Jono by 2 points there. I know that those, I think both Jono and Mel, unfortunately, had, Jono had the Bree Davey captain, yes, that's obviously very, very frustrating there for Jono. Then we'll go to the next matchup, which is Jackson getting the job done over Will, 17-13 to 13-55, with Jackson being the top scorer of the Content Creators Cup this week, the only coach to go over 1,700, and he's also passed many over rankings, which is very frustrating on my end. Then Jaiden, our very own 1690, got the job done over Liam, 1487. So good score for Jaiden there, being the second highest scorer across the content creators there. So in terms of the overall leaderboard, that'll mean I'll go back on top over JS, which is very nice there. But then we'll also see Jaiden will go up to, I believe, Jaiden, you'll be up to third behind JS. I think JS will be second, you'll be third. And I'm not quite sure who'll be fourth there, but yeah, a couple of good results there as well. Cool. So we'll quickly whiz through the games, and I thought instead of doing recapping scores, we'll do a little bit what like the ball boys do. We'll do like a bogs and flogs. We won't do it. We'll just sort of go through and we'll go like a player that was really good and then a player disappointed heavily. So we will go right from Tuesday and we'll go through all these games. So from the Tuesday game, Jaiden, all the way back the first game, Collingwood West Coast, who are you impressed with from this game?
I was impressed with Jess Hosking in the first game. Just everywhere, tackles, goals, popped up everywhere. She was on a mega score at halftime, I think like 56 or something. So really set up the weekend very nicely. And I guess, yeah, the big story out of this was Bree Davey, 33, only played 29% of the game. So, yeah, if you were like me and you had Hosking and not Davey, it was the perfect start. But, yeah, unfortunate for many people who went there.
Yeah, that was the frustrating thing, right? Is if she was copying a tag from Backer as well, and she was looking good. She was on 33 pretty early in the second quarter, and I was sort of at quarter time, I was looking at all my players thinking, oh, here we go, double game week. I've got all my players that are going well. Hosking 33, Davey 29, even Schilling was on 16. I brought in Ramos, who was on 13, making a bit of cash. It was just Charlie Thomas that was the only one that wasn't doing anything, along with Ruby Slisher. And then all of a sudden, it just went right downhill straight after that. So, yeah, Bree Davies, the disappointing story from this game, unfortunately. So, yeah, she'll have to be traded out because I believe she won't be playing this week as well, because the 12 days, that sort of falls into this game as well. So, cool. We'll move on to the next game, which was, and I probably should have said as well, obviously, with West Coast getting the job done by 17 points. Then Brisbane and the Bulldogs, 47-point winners to the Lions. I think the player that I was impressed with this game was Sophie Conway, 123. She was I think that the phrase we were using in our Discord, she was the ticket. She was the ticket to having a good week, getting the double play right. She was top scorer for the round as well. But yeah, 2 goals, 22 touches, 4 marks, 8 tackles, 123. You can't ask for much more than that as well. So she got off to a very good start. Who are you disappointed from this game, Jaiden?
It's pretty hard to go past the Dogs as a team. Like, no scores over 70. And to be fair, they were decently competitive. So once again, it's going to be the case for a lot of people just getting off any Dogs players they have this week now that their double's over.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Cool. We'll get on to the Thursday game, which is where Richmond got the job done over Carlton by 33 points, keeping Carlton to just the 6 behind in this game here. Who were you impressed with most in this game, Jaiden?
Yeah, I think Guerin, she is going to be the highest price rise this week. 20 disposals and 10 tackles. Absolutely elite. I'm not sure how much midfield time she got. I've added that to the site if anyone's interested. But yeah, 70%. So that's very good as well. She's just been super breakout, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, she's been fantastic. And I brought her in Bolter, but I did look at it this week, bringing her in over probably more over Pritchard instead, not a Bree Day, which would have been fantastic. But no, she was very, very good there. But shout out to Mitch, who did bring Maddie Guerin in this week. But Conti also was very, very good there as well with the 9 out. Did slow down with just the 2 marks and 2 tackles there. The player that I was probably disappointed with most from this game, it was probably a mix of 2 players. It's probably Dana Finn in a sense, but the conditions didn't really suit her. And then also Isla Sheeran's first half. Isla Sheeran's first half was not great. She had what did she have in the first quarter? She had 13 points in the first quarter, but then in the second quarter, she had 0 points and gave away a fair few free kicks. It was her second half where she really got going. Her time on ground was still a little bit all over the place, only 51%. So that was obviously frustrating. I'm be interested to see when we talk about trade targets this week, but maybe that puts a bit of a dampener on her heading into this week, just because if she's been managing these games, is she going to be playing full quota of minutes when they got 2 games in a week? I probably don't think so. That's probably my only flag with her this week. Moving to the Friday game with North getting the job done over Port by 36 points. And it's very, very hard actually to go past any of the 4 North mids when you have Ash Riddell top scoring with a 129. Only the second player to score over only one of 2 players, to score over 125 that didn't have a double game week. Her and Marinoff there. But then Jazz Garner as well with a 125. Mia King with a 115 had 17 tackles and also had a massive last quarter with 56 points. Had 9 tackles in that one. And then Ruby Tripodi as well with the 100, who we spoke about before. Obviously was fantastic. So they can all have that there. Who were you most disappointed from this game, Jaiden?
I'm not sure if heaps still have her, but Ash Saint only 24 points. So that's, not an amazing return. I mean, they did get fairly well restricted across the board, Port, but if you still have her, that's not a good result at all.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, no, she had a few CBAs, I think it was last week, and this week is back to more forward, and obviously the conditions were bad as well, but 24 when a few people jumped on. It's just, not being good, unfortunately. We'll move on to the Saturday game. So Geelong getting the job done by 69 points over Gold Coast. My tips were in the mud on Saturday. Didn't get one tip right on Saturday. Got them all wrong. Went Gold Coast, went St Kilda, and went Melbourne. So that was fantastic. I was having a good tipping year as well. I was actually in the top 400 on the official site and everything like that, but that sort of dream's gone. So in terms of this game, who were you most impressed with here, Jaiden?
This was probably the game that I watched the most of, to be honest, on the weekend. There's not a heap of standouts. I guess Whitford with a 125 could be an option going forward. But I do think it's probably down to no single being in the team. So she really stepped up defensively, 9 tackles. Pretty big score in a loss like that. I think the disappointing one would be, there's not a lot of highly owned players here. So I don't understand why this was the game that I chose to watch the most of. But I'm not really sure, I guess.
Probably A. McDonald, 55.
Oh, yeah.
She's probably the one.
She was on maybe I think she only had 1 disposal in the first quarter
first
or
half.
half.
Half or whatever. Yeah, she wasn't good. She had a better second half to the game. She had 21 points in the third quarter and 23 in the last. So what's that? 23. 44 points. So she only had 11 in the first half, which is very unlike Amy McDonald. I think they need Georgia Prasparkas back as soon as possible for them. But also shout out to Darcy Maloney. I've literally got her right there. No, Daisy Darcy, she must be made of steel. Like she gets injured in round 1 with an elbow injury that I thought it was like dislocated or broken or something bad. No, she comes back on. She lays a tackle within a few seconds. And then this game here, she goes down with a look like a knee injury or leg injury. And I thought, okay, well, she's not going to come back on either. But she comes back on and she actually scores really well. Like her last quarter, she had 27 points, kicked a goal, 3 tackles. Like she's been made of absolute steel. Like she's fantastic. So shout out to Daisy Darcy for coming back out to help her owners there get a pretty solid score there. And then we'll move on to the next game with Hawthorn winning by 57 points over St Kilda, meaning St Kilda have now lost their first game for the season. Probably very hard to go past Greta Bodie in this game. 6 goals, 123 points, 8 marks, kicked the last 3 goals of the game is what to get there. She had a very, very good day there as well. 45 points in the last quarter there. So, quite a good score. But also shout out to Fiedler as well, who scored 77 points. I'm really, really disappointed I didn't go there, and I went Lily Pearce instead to get that red dot, which might might help me in a week or two in the next few weeks, but didn't work for me this week because Bree Davey got injured, so I didn't have to use the VC loop. But we'll see how that goes moving forward. And then probably the disappointment from this game, for me, she's not really owned by anyone because most people did their job. Like Srimat's got a 50, that's fine enough. Bree got like a 62. I think the one here, Hannah Priest, I know that she's just a midfielder this year, but 16 points with only 5 disposals. She, remember the start last year, the first 4 weeks, she was #1 defender. She was must-have, great starting peer, but then it went downhill towards the back end of the year, and it's just continued into this year, just not getting in amongst the ball, playing in defence. So, yeah, hopefully no one picked her this year. We'll move over to Freo and Melbourne, with Freo getting the job done after Siren by 6 points there. Who are you most impressed with from this game, John? I think there's probably a couple of standouts here.
The standout for me is Gabby O'Sullivan. Very frustrating as I did start her. But yeah, 3
mentioned, so it probably offsets a tiny bit at least.
Kind of. 3 goals, 9 tackles. She's just been deployed as like everywhere. So she just does absolutely everything. Definitely not what I was expecting after her playing like lockdown defender in round 1. But yeah, she's around the midfield. I'm pretty sure her classification is now a midfielder. So she's played enough time around the ball to be classed as a midfielder now. And 101, that's ridiculous. So
what's her price going to be potentially after this week? Because obviously it's not this week, but she might be an upgrade target in the forward line the following week when they've got their double.
So before today's update, she was the 7th highest price change, and she'll be over 800,000, 850 roundabout.
Okay, yeah, maybe you don't go. That's expensive in the forward line. There are a few good options around that price. Maybe you go for like a Friswell or even a Chelsea Randall who's got the double the week after or something like that. But I don't know. But you've even said as well, spending down the forward line, because we've seen with some forwards they're just not putting up good scores, whereas it's with the midfielders is where we're getting the scores there. But obviously, yeah, McNamara had a great game. Goldrick as well. Emro Driscoll, Mim Strom, even Gabby Newton's playing midfield as well. Going quite well. So a few good players there. Who are you most disappointed from in this game?
So overall, this game was very high scoring, and it means that the price changes are going to be a bit more extreme. Actually, I'll get this around the wrong way, but yeah, hopefully in the back half of the year we get some more high scoring games, so that players like more representing that price. I guess the disappointment is on Ty, only 6 points, injured. Very unfortunate. She's going to go down the most out of any player this week. Close to 300k. So that's like too good all over again if you went from Bonnie to Ty. So pretty unlucky there.
Well.
Yeah.
Done that as well.
So yeah, you're down 550k all up. So if you have both of those.
This was just a lot of injuries in this game. Like Eden Zanker went off with an injury and didn't finish out the game. Ellie Runnels didn't finish out the game either. Joe Flynn didn't finish the game. And then obviously Ty and Mackin were both injured and were ruled out. So just, a bit of carnage one there. At least besides Ty, there wasn't, most of them weren't sort of fantasy relevant, but Ty is obviously a massive one that a few people would have owned her. And as you say, if you had too good, and that's probably the thing that frustrates me the most about the official platform is these massive price changes. It is fun in one regard if you don't get caught out with it, but if you get caught out with the fact that if you started too good and then went to Ty, you've got 600k less than the next coach that's got it. And if those coaches started a Gabby O'Sullivan instead, if they started most people started Tripodi, but let's just use her example. That's over $1 million that you've lost in cash. So 2 moves that could change sort of your team value, which is crazy. Moving to the Sunday game. So from today, the Crows getting the job done by 33 points there over the Bombers. Bombers started well. I thought I was quite worried about the way the Bombers started, but Crows did get on top late. And it's again, part of me doesn't want to keep saying her every game, but it's so hard when she's just that much better than everyone else. Ebony Marinoff is the one major standout again. Only 4 scores over 80, and the other 3 were in the 80s. And Marinoff 138. She was the only player to go over 130 that only had the one game this year. I contemplated trading her out. I know, Jaden, you didn't. I know a few other people did. And for some people, it's sort of you broke even, or if you went to like a Roberts or something like that, you got more points for the week, obviously, which is great. But just the 138, she won't change in price, essentially, or she'll go up a tiny bit. I couldn't get rid of her. I found it hard, but I did definitely see the play and banking the cash. But it'll be interesting to see. I think, Jaden, yourself, and I think if a lot of people will be sort of hoping that Marinoff has a quiet game this week against the Lions, and she only gets a 90 or something like that and goes down a fair bit. So, but also shout out to Maddie Newman as well. 86. I've been really a big fan of her this year again. So I think she'll be a defensive option for us when she has her double. Player I was most disappointed with in this game. I think most people did their job. Like, there's not really anyone I'd guess I could say I was massively disappointed with. I don't even know. There's probably no one. Maybe I'll say Danielle Ponta just because she got a 52. But that's 52 is not bad. So there's probably not really anyone I'd be really disappointed with from this game. So cool. We'll move on to the Collingwood and Bulldogs game, with the Bulldogs getting their first win of the season by 42 points. Who are you most impressed with from this game, Jaden?
I held her for too long in hindsight, but Alice Edmonds really showed up, and 88 points. Now, I knew that...
Where's it been?
It's funny. I knew the Brisbane game would be pretty rough, so I just wanted to get through that because this Collingwood matchup is quite good, despite Frederick being more of a household name and like someone you think would go all right. She's been giving up points, so I'm glad that she went all right in this one because I honestly didn't care about the Brisbane matchup. I knew it would be terrible, but yeah, 88 in this game. Stoked with that. She's going to lose a little bit of cash due to that first game being lower, but it could have been a lot worse if she pulled out another 50. So yeah, pretty happy with that. I suppose the letdown in this, like Geordie Allen, 38, she only scored 54 for the double or something, up, yeah. 56. So yeah, that's really rough for owners. She's probably going to be close to basement almost.
There would have been people out there that went a Jess Hosking down to Geordie Allen because to bank about 100K and have that double game week player, and Jess Hosking outscored her in one game, which is crazy. These double game weeks, I can already see by the end of the game, double game weeks, probably us both and everyone else, our brain's going to be fried because we're just going to be like, don't do this again next year. Just make the season longer and do actual weeks because there's so much drama that's with these double game week players. But there was a lot of disappointments in just this game. Like you had Carly Ramos started well, 27-point first quarter. I thought brilliant. Cash Gen is going to be great this week. Cops a massive corky, and then she doesn't score for essentially 2 quarters. I think she got a couple of stats late. She got 8 points after that. That was disappointing. As you mentioned, Geordie Allen as well. Then you also had a Sabrina Frederick only got a 48, so she looked like she was going to have a big double game week. That ended up being quite low. Slisher started well, went quiet, only scored the 49 again. But yeah, so a few disappointments from that game. Sydney versus Giants, with Sydney getting job done by 3 points, but Giants did come late. So it was got quite close in the end there. But again, probably very hard to go past Laura Gardner. I was sort of just fingers crossed, we're just hoping that she just tick over these 90s and low hundreds and keep going down. She won't go up or down in price, but won't be as cheap as what a few of us maybe would have hoped. But she was great again. 32 touches, 8 tackles, was fantastic there. In terms of players, probably disappointed with. It's probably literally has to go to Michaela Pounger. It's really going to go no one else. 4 points from a whole game is just not great. But you mentioned before, like Izzy Huntington only 31 points. Ella Head's only got 33 points. She's going to be extremely cheap when her double comes around, but she's been poor. Are we really going to be going there? That's going to be the question we get there. Even like Tani Evans, Lucy McAvoy, both got 45s. Obviously, McAvoy's been a popular option. Evans was popular because of the injuries. And Goldsworthy only got a 58 as well. So she wasn't as good as what she has been the first few weeks. And the final game of the round with Brisbane get the job done by 45 points over the Eagles. Who were you impressed with from this game, Jaden?
Ella Roberts, massive standout game, 10 marks, barely happens in the AFLW. I didn't watch any of this, but yeah, that's an outstanding score. And she finished very close to the top. Yeah, so second highest scorer for the week. Just amazing. And like, she's someone you're going to want to invest in many years to come in fantasy.
Yeah. Well, I remember that me and Tom were talking about this on our Game Day Squad show, but we're talking about like dynasty assets, and there's but like top three being Goldsworthy, Roberts, and Rowbottom. I think Roberts is at the moment ahead of Goldsworthy. I think it's probably Rowbottom number one, and then you've probably got Roberts number two, then Goldsworthy three, based on what we've seen so far. But yeah, Roberts has been fantastic, and that was very painful watching that when again 50-50 call. Could have gone Roberts over Davey, saved a bit of cash, and got a lot more points. That was quite scary how much different points that was. So who are you most disappointed with from this game to finish us off with the games?
Purely going off scores, I think I know a lot of people probably went for Octavia Di Donato, 32 points. So yeah, not the greatest output there, but she'll make a bit of cash. She had the lowest break even overall, I think. So, and she almost got to 70. So you'd nearly take it, but yeah, you probably would have hoped for a little bit more. So yeah, these Eagles rookies haven't really dominated. And there's quite a few of those names down the bottom that look pretty familiar.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, Courtney Hodder was frustrating for 3 quarters. The last quarter, we all know this. When she goes into the midfield, she goes well. She had 22 points. She tackles like crazy, and she just doesn't get used until the last quarter. So I guess obviously the 2 easier matchups this week didn't really help, but we would have thought maybe she would have kicked a few goals. But she kicked 1 goal for the year in 5 games they've played. So bit disappointing with Courtney Hodder, unfortunately. But hey, forwards are forwards. They're scoring about 50s anyway, so I don't think it's too bad at the end of the day. So they're the games that we've gone through. So we'll go through some trade targets heading into round 5. So for anyone that doesn't know, I think all of us do know by now, we've got another 4 teams on their double game week. But this week, I think, is a lot more relevant than last week. So we've got Richmond, Port Adelaide, Carlton, and North Melbourne. And there are plenty of options to discuss. So we'll go through line by line the options here. Or do you want to do teams, Jaiden? Line by line or teams?
I'd probably prefer teams, I reckon.
Well, okay, we'll do teams. And we'll start off in alphabetical order. So we'll go and start off with Carlton. So for me, I think that probably the standout option is almost like a Maddie Gearan, who should be $1 million, but she's going to have a low break even. She's got 2 games. There's a chance that she goes up in both games as well. And then maybe someone a bit cheaper, like Darcy Vessio's 381k is going to play twice. There's something to be said, maybe potentially looking there. Does a Yasmin Dersma come in for a Karen Peterson this week, and she's 350k as a forward? Does Lulu Beattie score more points with Peterson out? Is any of those you're sort of looking at this week? And obviously you've got your Abby Mackay's, Keely Shearer's, Mimi Hills at the higher end of the price scale. Who interests you the most from Carlton?
It'll be Guerin, because I think still a lot of coaches have an M5 rookie. It's hard this week because Goody and Window will both be playing 2. But if you're trying to get, I guess, some points back, you could make that upgrade, have a bit of a cash rise, hopefully. Because, Goody and Window are fairly close to their maximum price. And I can't really see them going up heaps in the 2 games, because they'll have, even if they go up in the first game, then they can come back down in the second game. And overall, it's a net loss. But, Guerin with the good role, scoring well. If you're trying to get an M5 and get a rookie off field, you could go for that. But
I feel like Goody could go up a bit, especially if she has I think she could have a good first game against Richmond. I think that could be a game where she gets a fair bit. And then she's got Carlton at Alberton. So she's the one that I could see if she popped an 80 or a 90 in the first game, her breaking would be quite low. So she's about the only one. But yeah, I agree with like a few of the other Port rookies that it could almost be a bit of a double whammy. So any of those forwards, not forwards, any of those cheaper options like well, we're not bringing Dana Finney now, but you're probably holding her if you've got her with the 2 games coming up. I know she didn't score great last week. She injured her ankle in the warm-up, and then it was wet, and it just wasn't a game suited for her, whereas I think these games could be a little bit better for her. But, like, there's a Darcy Vesio at 381K. Like, she got a 54 on the weekend, so she might go up in price. She's got North, though, in the first game, which obviously isn't great. And then, like, a Lulu Beatty. Any of those two sort of interest you as cheaper players?
So Vesio will be 441.
Yep.
So she'll be more expensive than Pounga because she'll be under 400K. So you could swap that out and have a kind of crack at F5 maybe. I don't mind that. Finn, yeah, disappointing score, but you kind of just give her another go. I don't really think it's worth trading her. Like, who are you going to? You probably have players like, I'd rather trade out Slisher than Finn, pretty much.
Yep.
And yeah, Finn, team high marks once again. I know it was only 2, but equal team high.
Yep.
So she keeps getting it done in only the 1 game, including the preseason game where she hasn't done that. So I'm assuming
she's a perfect winger. Like, she gets back and she intercepts, but then she gets forward and probably been a little bit unlucky she hasn't kicked. I don't know if she's kicked a goal in any of her games to start, but there's been chances where she's had a couple, like a shot that he doesn't get distance. She gets behind against Gold Coast, but she sort of goes right up and down the ground, which is exactly what Can't want as their winger. So her role, I don't think, is in question at all. If you had to pick one of those other mids, Mackay, Shearer, Hill, is Abby Mackay the one that you'd pick out of them? And would you consider any of them, or do you think they're at a price range where you'd either rather just go up a bit more or save cash and go down?
I think they're probably a bit of an awkward price.
Obviously, Matty Gearon's at the same
price
as well.
I can't really see you going for anyone other than Gearon. I suppose Shearer has the best role out of all of them. But yeah, like, they're fairly priced now. So, and Gearon will be as well. Like, she's made probably over 500K over the last 2 weeks. But yeah, I think you can probably go for the player that's in form.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and even Mimi Hill's only dropped the 1 big score, and then the others have all been under 65. So, yeah, cool. Alrighty, well, we will move on to the next team, which is a very, very relevant team, North Melbourne. I think I think we just got to start with Ash Riddell and Jazz Garner. I think that would you be at a situation where if you didn't have both, and if it just meant going, like, let's say, you got Bree Davey and you got Ali Anderson, you've got another player you want to trade. Would you be happy to go Bree Davey down to a rookie, play a goodie on field again, or even if it's a Piper window, just to get Garner Riddell in? Do you think that they're sort of those 2 players that you probably need on their doubles, or do you think one would be fine? And if you had to pick one, who would it be?
Yeah, I like the rookie play because you get 2 cracks at it. We saw what some of the rookies did on the weekend. Like Jasmine Smith, like, scored, I think, close to 120 overall, or maybe 111 it was. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but if you find these rookies that are in good roles, they can reward you. And I think Goody has the better role out of the 2 purely from a time on ground perspective. Window is a bit unlucky giving away frees, but it was difficult opposition, so you do make those mistakes. I do like that because you are getting in who you will be captaining. And I said this last week, or maybe it was the week before, you have to get a captain in. And if you can, try and get 2, because we saw on the weekend the danger of not having a vice captain. And if you captain Bree Davey, you've lost 400 points. Or maybe not 400, but...
So my question there would be, in that case, if you could only get 2 pre-midfielders in this week, would you rather get Conti, who plays first, and then get one of Riddell or Garner?
Well, I did that last week. I got Conti and Riddell. I couldn't really afford Gardner. Like, I could have got Garner, but I do think it's quite important just to be if you get a bad captain score at any point throughout these doubles, like you're done. Like you're not going to be finishing high.
Like for those people that had Bree Davey captain this week, like
that's 300, 400 points. As we saw in the Content Creators Cup, like there was 1,300 scores just from that. So
you would go Conti and then one of the North girls just to ensure you've got a VC then a captain.
It'll be very important to like look at teams before Conti plays. I think, so we should get the North team before, see if they're doing any resting, even if it's not those two in particular, but if they're resting anyone, then you could assess that. Personally, I really like the VC play, and I took a risk to not do it this week with Davey, but I got away with it. But because you can only captain one of them. Like you can't captain both of Riddell and Garner. Like it would be really nice, but you would have to pick one. I think Conti's price makes it a bit easier as well. Like Garner will be close to 1,480 maybe, and Riddell will be close to 1,600,000. So yeah, Conti's price
1,600,000.
Yeah, I don't really like talking in the millions because like it just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense.
I was thinking I was like 1,600,000. I'm just like, wait, what?
It is true.
Oh no, it is true. It's exactly right. Yeah, it's just an interesting way of saying 1.6 million. But no, I definitely get that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't want to have to program like millions into my stuff, so I just use the thousands everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I think both are good. I even think Mia King is a good option if you can't get up to the other two in Riddell and Garner. She's been pretty good the last 3 weeks, 95, 117, 115. So if you can't get all the way up there, she's an option. Obviously, Emma Carney's always an option, right? But I don't know about you, but I feel 995K for someone that's got 100 and a 77, then 250s. She's probably a candidate for me that would be rested a bit if they're up in a game, especially in a double game week. So is 995K, she may even be, I don't know, she'll be over $1 million this week. Is she too expensive in your eyes, or do you think she's still fine with the double?
I thought she would drop more with only a 59, but her break even was only 65. So she's still going to be around that 980 mark. I think it's quite expensive, and I'd rather be spending upgrade money elsewhere, like in your midfield. Just because I think, like you said, she could get rested. And also I'm kind of banking on the fact that North will dominate these two teams if I'm picking like these midfielders to captain. So I don't really want Carney getting much of the ball in defence. Like she's a really good player, but she's fairly priced. So if you're spending all that money for her, you want to be pretty confident that she'll go, around that price. Because her 101 is now out of a price cycle, so you're not going to be getting any bonus out of that. It's going to be quite dependent on what she does in these games, and I don't think I'll be going there. I think I'd rather go with Sheeran at this stage.
But then we'll talk about her in a sec, but even that's a tiny bit risky as well with her sort of game time. But I guess if people have got a Hosking, they're going to have to go for probably someone this week, or if they're picking maybe a player that's got a double game week coming up, then maybe they do that. I think Alice O'Loughlin's a great option in the forward line. She's been very, very good. 81, 70, and 77. And that was with a thumb injury, I think is what she got on the weekend. Bad condition as well, but still got the job done. So I think that if you look in the forward line, she's a good option if you wanted to pay up there as well. We're not bringing Ruby Tripodi in now. If you've got her, you're still definitely holding her. But you're not bringing Ruby Tripodi. Well, what's Ruby Tripodi's price going to be, Jane? Because I think she'd surely have to be able to knock on the door of 900K or more, surely.
Yeah, 880.
Yeah, wow.
So,
what a pick. Yeah, too expensive. You go if you haven't got either, you go Alice O'Loughlin definitely, or even a Kate Sheil or potentially instead. But yeah, Tripodi, if you've got her, you hold. What about Nicole Bresnahan as an option? She's 597 on the double. They've obviously got Carlton and Richmond. Richmond, you'd think, is probably maybe a better matchup, just because maybe the ball might not be down there much. But Bresnahan at 597, she'll drop a bit. Her scores haven't been great. She didn't play a heap of game time on the weekend. Could you go there?
She's going to be cheap. She'll be like 580. I feel like it's a bit of a Geordie Allen situation, though. I think you kind of, and like her price is on the way down still. You're kind of bringing in someone who's like, you're pretty much taking the risk of like, so if you already own her, then I'm more than comfortable to hold. It's just like Slasher last week. Like you can hold her in the hope that she could go big. She might not, but I wouldn't be bringing her in because if she just does what she's been doing, she's not even cracking 100. So I don't think it's worth that. And you could have a stab at a rookie like Finn or on field instead.
Yeah, great. Cool. We'll move over to Port Adelaide. Is there anyone at the top end that intrigues you at all? So you obviously got Abby Dowrick, you got Marie Maloney. Obviously, Kirsty Land's been disappointing this year, so we're not going there. But Matilda Schultz in the ruck has been pretty good the last couple of weeks. They're probably the ones up there. But then you've even got like Gemma Houghton's at 599k, and she's going to drop even further. But 3 scores under 40 with back-to-back 20s. Are we going there? And obviously Saints dropped the bid as well. Is there any Port players above, I guess, 500k that you're looking at?
Personally, I haven't looked yet, but I do like Port for value. So yeah, they don't have anyone really expensive, and they do get to play against Carlton and Richmond. They don't have to play against North, so big tick there.
Abby Dowrick, maybe she's under $1 million.
Well, yeah. I like the midfield matchup for Carlton against Carlton. And yeah, I suppose she's probably the best option. I'll just take a look at. So yeah, she was. So Syme, Maloney, and Dowrick were all at 82% of centre bounces this week. So that's the main 3. Syme's been rotated pretty heavily. So this is also why I like Goody on field this week, because they don't have a lot of amazing options. So you could just have a go with Goody, hope that she does well. With respect to her price, but yeah.
Yeah, the 2 scores for Goody under 70, and they've obviously been only 34 and 45. They've both been in wet weather. So that's obviously, and when she's more of an outside player, but she has been tackling. Like in the Freo game, she was tackling a lot, which is good. Hopefully, it'd be good for bloody Melbourne with the frigging rain the last few weeks. I'm hoping that it's funny enough. They'll find a way. Like someone will find a way for it to be sunny on Saturday for the grand final, because it normally is. But in terms of Tuesday night and Wednesday, Tuesday night for the Port Richmond game, hopefully it's not raining and we can actually get a dry game at Icon Park, because that'd be nice for Sinead Goody. But if it's not, then I guess that someone like a Piper Window might be able to cash in. Is there any interest from you for Gemma Houghton or Ash Saint at all in their double?
Probably not. Like they're averaging under 40, both of them. Yeah, I just find that pretty tough, because I don't think it's worth, like, because with these types of plays, you have to use 2 trades, one to get them in and one to offload them. And that's in your forward line where, like, I guess the only players you can trade to get them are like Taylor Smith, if you went there, great pick. Like Hodder, I'm not sure if it's really worth 2 trades for that. And
you'd rather Vesio? For cheap, she'll be obviously a bit cheaper.
Well, yeah, you might as well just go cheaper, I think. They are going to be probably around the same price. Well, Houghton definitely. Yeah, so probably around 50k more for Saint compared to Vesio. I think, yeah, I don't really like them as in that role compared to. Well,
for those people that have got a Michaela Paunger, are you fine if you traded her, or if you've got an Ella Smith on the bench or someone like that? If you're going them up to Vesio, would you rather do that trade, or do you think you'd rather just keep Paunger on field if she's not dropped? Because who knows, she could be dropped for not having too much impact. Would you rather just keep her on field and get in one of these other preems in a different line and just keep that F5 position just sort of almost rotting away in your team?
Yeah, well, what's going to get you more points, like swapping a midfielder or swapping a forward, where you're like if you're thinking about Ali Anderson and you've got her this week, what's going to get you more points, like Anderson to Garner or trading Pounger, who probably will only score 10, to one of, you pretty much need, Saint or Houghton or Vessia, whoever you're going to ton up pretty much if you want that to be worthwhile. So, like, if you can see that happening, then sure, you can use a trade there, but I think the trades are better used elsewhere. And like, I don't want to say the forward line's terrible, but then use all my resources there at the same time. Like, it just doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, I think I agree as well. Because if you go to a Vesio and she gets you 230s and gets a 60, but Pound gets a 30, let's say, and then you could have swapped let's say Pritchard who gets a 70, and you could go get a Conti who gets a 180 points for the double game, but you obviously get a lot more points from that. So I agree as well. I think that Pounder for me is probably we should probably not even trade at round 6 because she's got a double, but then she might be. Maybe you go her up in that round or even in round 7. I think you just keep her there and sort of let it roll away. Unless she gets dropped, then you're probably going to have to get away. But I guess people then just go get a Vessia or something like that at that point. All right, we'll move over to Richmond, the final team with the double. I think we've got to start with, obviously, Mon Conti. She's at 1.213 on my screen here. Obviously, she's going to... what was her break-even? What's her price going to be? And what are your thoughts on her, obviously, with her double?
So I brought her in last week, knowing that she dropped a fair bit. Like, I traded her out, over 1.3. Yeah, she dropped a big amount. She's now 1.2. She's going to be pretty much, I'd say, 1.16 million. So she'll be very cheap. A good candidate to switch in for a Pritchard or a Davey if you've got them, because she's the number one midfielder on the team. Played 100% of centre bounces compared to
market share,
yeah. But yeah, they've got a pretty wide midfield, but she's been the one in there. She got tagged against Sydney, tagged against GWS, so her price is low for that reason. The only worry is she's playing North and could cop Maria Maloney against Port, but at the price and to get 2 goes, I like these types of plays, and I know it didn't work out last week with Davey, but I like the plays. You can give her a VC, see how she goes, because she's already cheap.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and I'm not sure. I think obviously Miriam Lane will go to her, but I'm not sure exactly how hard it will be because she went to Blackburn. Blackburn still turned up in that game, and then last week she could have gone to a Garner or even a Riddell, and she sort of didn't worry about it. So I'm not. It'd be interesting to see. Obviously, it's different with Richmond. Like, you look at North and go, oh, do you tag Garner? Do you tag Riddell? Maybe you just don't worry about it. Whereas this week you go, okay, who are you tagging? You're tagging Conti. So be interesting to see. But good option. Isla Sheeran. So she's played 61 and 51% game time in the 2 games. Scored solid in that. Obviously, she's played her full quota. She'd be scoring really well. What are your thoughts on her double? Because I do see it as a slight risk with 2 games in the week that she will get managed again. And I think that's what they're going to do with the fact that Richmond have started pretty well. I think they're in the top 4 at the moment, or just outside the top 4 anyway. And they're looking good for finals, and they're probably playing the long game with Sheeran. You still find her, bring her in on a double?
The forced trade of Hosking and I guess Slasher makes it a bit interesting because I am looking for someone like this. As of this afternoon when I was thinking about it, I probably won't go there. I have pretty well set up for this week, so I don't know if I need more on this week, and I have only 2 players set up for next week, so I think I might go for Daisy Darcy, but yeah, if it wasn't for the name, I feel like we wouldn't even be considering. She had 30% of centre bounces, so it's not the most amazing stat, but it's kind of indicative. And I think 30% of centre bounces and 51% game time. I'm not sure if she played somewhere else.
She played a couple of times. It was mainly midfield. It was just the fact that she only played half the game. Whenever she was off, there was a couple of quick goals scored and she stayed off. But can't remember many times. I think maybe once or twice she was in defence, but mostly it was midfield. But just because she was off so much, I'm just worried that with the 2 low games, like she's just going to be rested again, like the 2 games a week. She might play. I think her game time will increase post these 2 games. I just think in the double where you're paying. Well, what's she going to be priced at? She'll be priced at like probably $850, won't she? Somewhere around there, $850.
Yeah, $870. 865.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd almost, as you say, rather go for a Daisy Darcy who's got the double the following week. Even I've said as well, like you've got O'Driscoll there, who's got their double the following week. So just if I think a few candidates in round 6 and even 7 have probably got better prospects at a cheaper price, and you probably get them in now. That's just my thinking there. Ellie McKenzie would have been an interesting one to discuss, but she's been suspended for a week. They're challenging it. I don't know when that'll be because their game's on Tuesday. So I'd imagine that it'll either be tonight or it'll be tomorrow. I'd imagine probably tomorrow night, but then the Brownlow's on. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to be happening with that. But if she were to get off her suspension, is she an option, or do you think she's at a bit of an awkward price where you'd much rather go for like a gear and who might be like 100K more expensive?
She's been playing really well. She had 90% of centre bounces on the weekend, which is very promising. She's had like over 75% in every game so far. I find it pretty hard to read Richmond in terms of none of them turned up this week against Carlton, who've given up a fair few points this week, and they did smash them as well. So, yeah, obviously the suspension is the big one, but I don't mind it. I think the issue is she's not that cheap. So it's probably going to be if you're weighing up between Guerin and McKenzie, who, if she's not suspended, I think it's tough, but I just can't. I feel like it's going to be the case of she just doesn't have that game for fantasy because she's just too good at the game. She's just like is too impactful with her touches. She's not like Marinoff where she just like tackle, dump like every single 2 seconds. She actually like is effective and like is blast out of contests and stuff. So like I just don't know if it's quite there on a double. I mean, she could just break out and go big. But yeah, I'm not sure. So the suspension is the big one. Keep an eye on that. Yeah, exactly. We'll see if she's suspended or not. But at this stage, she will be missing this week. Grace Egan's at 828. Like she's gone 56, 60, 61, 71. So she's got bet obviously every week. I feel like a North matchup could actually be a matchup that might actually suit her with a lot of tackling and something like that. She's 820. Again, it's just an awkward price. So I probably wouldn't go there myself, but she is there if that was, I guess, the best you could get to. Katie Brennan, what are your thoughts on her as an option? She's got 3. Well, I thought on the weekend she was on 51 again after the game, and I said to you at 3/4 time as well, watch her finish on 51, and she kicked the goal early, and I thought it's happening, and she actually finished the game on 51, but got a late. I think she got a tackle taken away, but then she got a handball. No, she got like 2 kicks added or something crazy. So she ended on 53. So she's got 3 50s in the first 4. Is she too expensive for the output you're getting and you wouldn't worry about it? Or do you think that you could still go there on the double? So I almost went there. I was going for Garner and Brennan, but I ended up with Riddell and Friswell instead. I think like the role, like the main reason I went for Friswell is because of the role. I got a bit lucky with like 6 marks there, but in terms of Brennan, she's someone I'll consider. I don't know if I love the role in general because she had that one big score with 3 goals too. She's still going to be relying on goals, and Richmond have been going quite well, but they are going to play against North this week, who are the second hardest matchup.
Yeah, I'd prefer Alice O'Loughlin She's Brandon's 818. She'll drop a tiny bit. Alistair Loughlin will go up, obviously, a little bit. If you've got that 100K, which I'm probably saying it's around 100K price difference, Jane, you probably got it there for us there. But I think if you've got that spare 100, 120K and you can go up to an Alistair Loughlin instead, I'd probably do that. I don't know if you got the price difference there for us, Jaden?
So Lachlan will be roughly 901 and Brendan will be 820.
Yeah, so you'd probably agree with that. If you got the 80K, you'd go Alistair Loughlin instead. The role is obviously better there.
Yeah, I don't know if the role is so much different. Like it's half forward versus key forward, but
I guess North it's always forward for North. I guess because
true. The main consideration in terms of the forwards for me is who's going to be top 5 for the rest of the year. Because if you're bringing in these players now, you don't want to have to trade them out. Like you're not picking, if you're paying up for these forwards, you're not picking them to trade them straight out next week. You want them to be a keeper. You've got plenty of other trades to waste in other lines. And I just don't want to use it in the forward line. I really want to get keepers in, which is why I went for Friswell. I'm not quite there on Brennan yet.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think defence and forward, you just get keepers in and you don't worry about sort of trading them out and trading them in unless they're rookies and stuff like that. But I think the mids is obviously where we're obviously flipping because there's so many good options on each double game week. So which is what makes it interesting. I guess the final player that you've got that you could consider is there's a couple of Richmond defenders that are getting it done that are a bit cheaper than a Sheeran and that you could go for this week. They're obviously risky because we sort of don't quite know because we haven't really considered. But you've got like a Beth Lynch at 620K. I'm not sure what her price will be post this game. And Jane, I'm sure you can get that up for us. But she's gone 56, 62, and 40 in her last 3. Obviously, 40 was against Carlton in the wet. And then also we've got a Tess Lavey who's gone 58, 45, and 52 in her 3 games. What are their both their prices going to be now, Jaden? And any interest for you potentially over a Sheeran, maybe for the double game week play, we could bring him in, hoping to make a bit of cash and then trade out?
So Lavey will be a touch over 600 and Lynch around 640. So fairly similar in price. Lavey's interesting because she has attended some centre bounces over the last few weeks, 38.5%, 0, and then 10% last week. So I'm not quite sure on the role, but I haven't watched heaps of Richmond this year. I think, these types of plays could work because I don't see a lot of other Richmond players that you would want other than Conti. So, it's a consideration. I guess, it comes back to the keeper discussion, though.
Yeah. What's Lavey's break even? Will that be heading into this week?
I'm not sure yet. I haven't updated. I've got a few things to change, so it might take a while.
That's fair enough. No, mate. I expect too much of you, mate. Doing all the stats and stuff. No, we always appreciate all the stats. But I think Lavey's obviously the option over Lynch. I think it's something that that I'll be keeping a bit of an eye on as well. There's also like a Maddie Shevlin's there as well. She's got 58, 48, 39, and 40. But as you say, I almost feel like all defenders are probably going to have a couple of 40s in them, or they'll go 50 and 30. Or something like that. So I don't know if I'm going to go there myself. I'd probably just rather go for a player that's got a double in round 6. So there's a few options in defence that I might consider. So, but yeah, cool. Alrighty. Well, I think that we've obviously gone through all the targets and stuff. Probably the final thing we'll just touch on quick before we finish, because obviously it's around the hour mark. What did you learn from the first double game weeks? Because I think from what I learned is you definitely don't have to have 8 players on a double to score well, because I thought, here we go, 8 doubles. Most people got 4, 5, or 6. I thought I'd go up, and I only went up 50 spots. So it's not. I don't know if it's all about. It's probably getting obviously the right doubles and having a bit of a spread. So what did you learn from the first week of the doubles, and what you'll be taking into the next 3 weeks?
I think. Well, my kind of take on them was to spread out your load of them, which is why I didn't get Davey this week. I think I'm pretty well set up for next week as well. So I'll probably just, try and get in Daisy Darcy or someone else like I did with Friswell to load up a bit more in round 6. I think the consideration is don't think that the first week will be indicative of what's to come either. So we could see Riddell and Garner pump out 300 points each this week, and it completely changes what you think about them. I don't think there was a lot of quality on this double game week. Like Davey would have gone all right if she didn't get injured, but I just don't think there was.
Every time you mention Davey, I keep having I sit there and just grimace, and I'm just like, oh, because she started so well, she looked good. It's just it doesn't matter. I keep telling myself that it doesn't matter. She got injured. Suck it up.
There's nothing you can do about it now. But
see that, that's the thing that as well with injuries is that we saw in the men's. Actually, we didn't see it as much in the men's this year with injuries where players were on low scores and got injured. Like Tom Green's the one that comes to mind. But a lot of players that got injured in the men's actually got injured on good scores, so over 100. Like we've seen Jack Steele a couple of times get over 100 and get injured, and a few players like that. Whereas this year in the AFLW, it has just killed coaches this year. Like Anya Tai injured on 6, Bonnie Toogood injured on 5 or 6 or something. There's just Bree Davey 33. Like their players getting injured on low scores. That's just it's so hard to take. But anyway, sorry, continue. That was my little.
Yeah, it's rough. So I think don't go too crazy about what happened on the weekend, and just try and I think it's important to just do what you think will get you the most points. Personally, I think cash will be a bit of an issue, and it's probably something to look at your own team and weigh up how much cash you have, what your team is going to look like coming out of it. I'm quite worried about cash in my own team, but I'm trying to, at this point, I'm not ranked the best at 900th. So I want to get some points back, hopefully get a little bit lucky and not have to worry about cash heaps. But my overall advice is don't read too much into what just happened. Try and think about how you felt this time last week and what you were trying to predict, how it was playing out in your head, how close you were on those, and then try and apply that methodology to this week with your thinking. Probably don't load up too much. Assess the quality of the players and whether you want them moving forward for the rest of the year. That's my general advice.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's. I think probably the one thing I'd say is what I learned from this week is I don't like a lot of people are thinking, we'll get these double game week players. We're going to get 180, 190, 200 points. I don't think that's going to happen very often. I think there's going to be a couple. I think I would expect Riddell and Garner to go over 200 this week. I'd find it a bit hard to believe that both of them would score less than 100 in both games. I think one game they might go big, the other game they might get rested. But we saw this week, Sophie Conway was the only player that went over the 200 marker. I think Ella Roberts got close. I don't think she maybe might have just got there if I'm not mistaken. But they might have been the only two. Let me just I'm just quickly get it up here while I'm talking about this.
She got 198.
Yeah, 198. So she essentially got about 200, right? But Conway was the only one, 215. I know the quality, obviously, of players went there, but we saw, and Ellie Anderson, I think, was the good example for this, right? Is because first game she was on track for a 110 plus 120, but last quarter, rest at full forward, didn't play any CBAs, set off the final 5-6 minutes, and especially when you sit off the last few minutes of the quarter as well. I think a few people mentioned in our group chat, it's actually a lot bigger to finish off the quarter on the bench than sit off the first few minutes of the quarter, because if you're on the bench for 5 minutes, you miss the game time. Whereas when you're on the field for the last few minutes, you could be on the field for five minutes, depending on how many stoppages there are, essentially, because of the time on with the last 2 minutes. So, you could even see a game where a Garner against Carlton, for example, she might rest forward for last quarter. She might rest on the bench. Does Riddell get managed? I think the star players will get managed a bit through these games. That's why I'm I don't know how many of these 200 plus scores we get. As I said, I expect Garner and Riddell to do it. I expect Marinoff to do it, Gardner and Rowbottom to do it. But I think as a few of those names, maybe a couple others, maybe Conti as well. that a few of them might not, and they'll get like a 180 to 200. They'll go around that mark. I don't know if you agree with that, but I don't know if we'll see many of these 200 plus scores from these players.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, just kind of come up with your expectations first, and then assess where that kind of how you've changed your mindset. I wouldn't go too hard, but like an example for me was my expectation was that this week's double games weren't amazing. And it was really only Brisbane that had good matchups. Collingwood are now bottom of the ladder. So there wasn't a heap of quality. And it's really only Anderson. Like, we've got a lot of good to come with Garner, Adele, Rowbottom, Marinoff, like still to come. So yeah, it could go really big, and you want those players. I don't think you need to worry too much about this week being not amazing. The only consideration is cash, because you're trading in players that are fairly expensive, even if they have a good break even, like someone like Davey, for example. I'm not talking about a score here whatsoever, but she could have a really big score in the first game, but then a poor or the other way around, and she doesn't actually make the most of that break even you're probably trading in for.
Or that first game, they've got to go big to continue that cash gen.
Yeah, so it is. The cash is probably something to consider, because you still want to try and complete your team. Like, you've still got 4 weeks after, or is it only 3?
No, 3
weeks. Yeah, so you've got 3 weeks after to try and have a completed team. I'm not sure if I'll get there, but I'm hoping to. I don't want to be wasting heaps of money, but I'll do my best to get there.
Yeah. I still think I'll be in okay spot to get a complete team because of Tripodi and O'Dowd being the two, and Finn. Those three going up to a point where they're all, well, Tripodi is definitely, she's above some premiums we're looking at. I think she might even be above like your Friswells and your Chelsea Randalls and stuff. So but then she could be a season on keep, right? The way she's going, she's a top 5 forward based on her average. So you could easily keep her, but then like Finn's 600k, she might drop slightly, but she's still going to be over 500k when you trade her. O'Dowd is obviously still made cash. She was one we didn't mention tonight that went solid enough again. I know it was against No Morpher, but 62, you still take that. She makes still a little bit more cash. She's going to be a sideways swap to some of these rucks, unless you're looking at Mimstrom, where it might cost you a little bit, but yeah, it's just getting these players right over these double game weeks. So, but I reckon to finish off the pod, we'll sort of go through our early trade plans. Obviously, Lockett hasn't lifted, so we haven't been able to play with our teams or anything like that. But what are your sort of early plans? Obviously, Tuesday will be live. Tuesday, we can chat about it more then. But what are you currently looking at as of tonight?
So based on what I wrote down, I guess a week ago now, I'm looking to go Edmonds to Fiddler, or if I need to, a $300,000 player, because Fiddler will be like 5 something now. I think like close to 560,000. I don't think that's going to give me a heap of money. Hosking will have to go, even though I did bookmark that. Hosking to Sheeran was what I wrote down. I don't know if I'll do that now. I'll probably just go to Daisy Darcy, because both of them still have a double to come. And who do I want for the rest of the year? If I can afford it. And then Ali Anderson to Riddell. Ali Anderson will drop a fair bit.
Yeah, that's the
her break even in that second game was 163. So to maintain that 1.492 million price, then she would have to have scored 163. So with what did she score in the end? An 80. She's probably looking at
1.3.
Yeah, she'll be like 12. 1.25, I reckon. Yeah, that's something bad. Like that.
It means you're going to have to find
a bit less, yeah.
Instead, because a lot of people are going, oh, yeah, I was the same. Just go straight swap Anderson to Garner or Anderson to Riddell. No, to go up to Riddell, 400k probably, or just under. Garner, it's going to be 200k. Like it's a decent upgrade. So it's like Conti's the one that now. I think a lot of people have almost had, especially if they had Davey, have probably had to pivot to one of the North mids and Conti, just because of that, and maybe even not Conti, maybe it's a Gearin instead. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what people do. I'm still undecided yet. I could still get both North mids. I could go like a Bree Davey all the way down to a Lulu Beattie, play her for Hosking this week with the anticipation I'm going to upgrade Hosking next week to a Daisy Darcy. and get those North mids, I might be able to get a Conti and a Garner, and then potentially get a defender like that. Like it might have to be an O'Driscoll or something in defence. I don't know. I'm unsure. I have to play around with the team and see how much cash I've lost, because it's a fair bit this week with Davey and Anderson. So but hopefully Pritchard's gone up a little bit in case I need that extra cash. But we'll see how we go. But that'll do us for the pod. A bit of a longer one there. But Jaiden, mate, where can the people find you across the socials and the website?
Yeah, you can find the site stats by jaiden.com.au. I've made a change to the break-evens page. I've got now like an expected price on there. So for everyone that had played before today, I updated it and it had that kind of expected price change. So like Garner going up 12,000 approximately. So things like that. I'll try and update that maybe like every day. So across the weekend, you can kind of plan out your trades, because we only have one day tomorrow to figure out what's going on. I'm not sure when lockout will be lifting. Yeah. So
I think I saw on the, like with the fixtures, it said a few of the North players are playing Port and Richmond. So I wouldn't imagine it'd be too long from when we're recording.
Oh, okay. Yeah, true. I did see that last week as well, but it took a little while after that. But yeah, I've updated a bit on there. So, and centre bounce attendances are up there as well. So if you need those, they're there.
Yeah, no, beautiful. Make sure you check it out. Jaiden doing God's work for us all in the AFL and AFLW Fantasy community as well. You can find me at Bails DT across socials. You can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans as well on Twitter. And you can find Mitch at Ball Boys Fantasy. Hopefully we'll be able to get him on because I know he works Tuesdays and Sundays. He's normally not free, so it might be a couple weeks till we hear from him, but we'll have to see how we go. Might be able to sneak him on for one of them there. But appreciate everyone that tuned in live as well. Thanks to those that sent through the questions. Hopefully answered a fair few of those with all the discussion that we had. But apologies if we didn't get to the question or not. We will be live on Tuesday. Obviously, we didn't sort of say, I guess, before the pod because we sort of were working through everything. But we will be live on Tuesday night. Our pre-lockout chats will just be on the Tuesday nights moving forward for the next couple of weeks. So we'll be doing it. I think the game's at the exact same time, 6:45, 7:15 Eastern. So we'll go from 6 till 7, 6 p.m. Eastern till 7 p.m. Eastern for an hour on Tuesday nights. That's 4 till 5 per time as well. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in for that, because we only got one day and then we're back into it again. And then we've got it for another couple of weeks. So good to have AFLW footy on most nights, though, which is good. So yeah, perfect. Alrighty. And if you've got any questions as well and you'd like to ask me on Q, then head over to askmeonq, spelled QU.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. If you've got any other AFLW fantasy questions you'd like to answer as well. And if you guys want to sign up to Game Day Squad as well, I've got a promo code there, Bails DT. If for new users, make sure you sign up. You get a free 3-player rare pack. I think you can do it on NBL, or you can also do it on like the AFLW or anything like that. So if you guys want to get involved in that, make sure you do. But until then, have a good night, or good 2 nights, guys. And we'll catch you on Tuesday for our pre-lockout chat. So thanks, guys. And we'll catch you then. See ya.